So, doing this little short video for people on my page on social media, although it may be posted on YouTube. I just wanted to do a short video in regards to the recent recommendation that Officer Daniel Pantaleo be fired for the illegal chokehold murder of Eric Garner. I'm doing this short video because I saw a lot of comments that were made by people which gave me the impression that people really didn't understand what was going on. So I felt the need to do this little video to try to shed a little light on what's occurring. First of all, there is no indictment. People have been saying, good, I'm glad they're recommending that he be fired. I hope they go ahead and indict him. Where have you been? Have you been paying attention to what's been going on with this case? There is no indictment. Okay? The murder, which was witnessed on video worldwide and in fact ruled a homicide, was not indicted. Okay? The prosecutor, who normally prosecutes homicides, decided that he would take all the evidence and give it to a grand jury and let them decide. And for whatever reason, that grand jury decided that there would be no charges, no indictment, and people have been fighting since then, trying to get it exposed exactly what those grand jurors were told that led them to believe that no charges would be issued. So, once that had happened, the family requested a federal investigation because you have two places to go. You can get criminal charges at the state level, and where that has failed, like in this case, that failed to be the case, the family then appealed to the Department of Justice, seeking federal charges at the criminal level, which is usually very hard to come by because the law and the requirements that will enable them to actually bring charges are more stricter than they are on the state level. Don't ask me to explain it. That's how they have it. Okay? But for the most part, I believe it's being used as an excuse. And the reason why I say that is because in this particular case, during the Obama administration, when this case first went to the Department of Justice, there were agents that said that they felt that there was insufficient evidence to bring charges. That's here in New York City. The Department of Justice here in New York City, they felt that there was insufficient evidence. The Department of Justice at the federal level said to them, bullshit. We believe there is sufficient evidence, and fired them and took over the case. But when Trump came into office, he appointed his own people at the Department of Justice. And those individuals have held the case, and held the case, and held the case, and held the case, claiming to be investigating the case, and literally did nothing. For 5 years, they held that case and did not make a decision concerning it. So there was no criminal charges by the state, but the case is in the federal government waiting for a decision on that. What did the family do in the meantime? They asked the city to hold disciplinary hearings to see if that officer could be fired. Because just because no criminal charges was brought, you should be fired. There's evidence that shows that you mishandled your job, you used excessive force, you did a number of things resulting in that man's death, and even though you haven't been brought up on criminal charges, you should be fired as an officer for NYPD. So that's what the family has been doing all throughout this time. What happened? The city of New York said, we can't hold any disciplinary hearing because the case is being investigated by the federal government, which was bullshit. The federal government said, well, the city can do whatever they want. They have full authority to go ahead and hold these NYPD disciplinary hearings. And they went back and forth like a fucking ping pong. You do it. No, I'm not going to do it. You do it. I'm not going to do it. You do it. Until finally, just this May, they finally had the NYPD proceedings to see if that officer would be fired. What happened? The defense for the guilty tried to tell the administrative judge, and in fact the whole world, that the chokehold you saw wasn't really a chokehold. It was a seatbelt technique, not an illegal chokehold, trying to get the officer absolved from all accountability. Okay, so we have a police department here in New York City, along with union officials who will lie and tell you that you did not see what you saw, who are bold enough to tell the world you did not see what you saw, all in the name of protecting their officer from being held accountable and being punished accordingly. This is what they tried. It didn't work. The administrative judge, in their decision, recommended that that officer should be fired. So now, the defense for the guilty officer is going to add their thoughts concerning that recommendation as to why they feel the officer shouldn't be fired. And the recommendation of the judge, along with the recommendation of the guilty's attorney, will all be presented to the commissioner. And the commissioner is going to look at the decision that the judge made, is going to look at the arguments being made by the officer's attorney, and the commissioner is going to decide whether or not he's going to fire that officer. It's a recommendation. It's not an order. It's not enforceable by anything. He can agree to the suggestion being made that that officer be fired, or he could totally dismiss it. Or he could modify it and say, I don't feel it warrants him being fired. We'll put him on a suspension for a year, or we'll keep him off. He can modify it any way that he wants to. He can do whatever he wants to. That's what I'm saying. So that's nothing to applaud. It's nothing to celebrate as a victory. And it's certainly nothing to make you feel that this system of justice works, because clearly it doesn't. This case should have never went on for 5 years. That's number one. And no leadership in the Department of Justice should be allowed to hold a case for 5 years talking about you still investigating. If it took you 5 years to investigate that case, then there must have been something in that case that put you on pause so that you didn't immediately say, we can't bring him on charges. But the fact that you waited 5 years, there must have been something in there that questioned whether or not you should bring charges against him. If it was as cut and dry as you would like people to think, you should have immediately said, no charges. But it took you 5 years. 5 years to decide. And you decided the day before the murder was actually committed. Let me say that again. I want y'all to understand this. Okay? 5 years ago, when Eric Garner was murdered, okay, the Department of Justice waited until almost the exact date that that man's life was taken to tell that family, we can't bring any charges. Are you getting that? Are you comprehending what they've been put through? Are you comprehending the we don't give a fuck attitude by the Department of Justice that's been displayed in this case? That they didn't have sense, conscience, or intelligence, okay, to not tell a family the day before their loved one was actually murdered that there ain't shit that you intend to do about it. Okay? Not that you can't do something about it, but that you don't intend to do nothing about it. Okay? That's where we at. So when I see people on social media who look at a recommendation that they be fired and you applaud it and you feel like progress has been made, you sleep. You don't understand what is going on, and you really need to. Because you're not going to fight the fight that needs to be fought. You're going to celebrate the wrong shit. You're going to jump when your ass should sit down. And you're going to be sitting down when your ass needs to get the fuck up. And that's where we at with this. I don't care no more. I don't care about being polite, cordial, diplomatic, none of that, because I'm so tired. I'm beyond tired behind the stuff that I see and the stuff that people co-sign on.